IPL has been going astonishingly for 4 weeks already. And for those of you that are keeping the faith and sticking with it, you'll be glad to know that we are now halfway through with the final scheduled for the 26th of May. So let's catch up with what's been going on and the notable performances and what we've seen so far with our old friend, one of the almost regulars of 98, no doubt, Matt Kabir Floyd joins me. Matt, how are you?
Very good, mate. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
So the IPL, what have you picked out so far?
Well, the obvious one is insane run scoring.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost got a bit too much, hasn't it? I think the old record for the highest total was 263, maybe. RCB had it from 2016. It's been broken three times
yeah.
already, including 287 by the Sunrisers against RCB. In fact, they've broken it twice. They broke their own record, didn't they, from earlier? They got to 270 on. I've lost track already against Mumbai, and they've already broken that against RCB. Uh, Last year was the highest scoring IPL ever. I think we had more than double the amount of scores over 200. And I haven't looked into it, but I'd imagine we're going to be on course to probably beat that again. And definitely in terms of the the massive scores. We didn't have those massive scores last year. This year, it's been unbelievable. I mean, it's great to watch in some ways, but Mike Atherton wrote an interesting piece about that this week. I think it's gone a bit too much, to be honest. I don't particularly enjoy watching 280 v 260 in a T20 game. I think the balance between bat and ball has just swung too much then. So the question is, why have we got these massive scores this year and we haven't had them before? It's an interesting one. The pitches are obviously very flat. People go on about bats, but I mean, bats haven't transformed overnight. Bats have been getting better and better. I don't have a problem with the good bats they have. I think they haven't spun very much the pitches, which is a bit strange. In India, you want to have a bit of spin, don't you? You've got so many good spinners out there. And if there's nothing in the pitch for them, they're just going to get whacked. The big problem is the size of the boundary. The boundaries are pretty small. How many times do you see the ball not just clearing the rope, it's going, 20 rows back? So I think that's something they could maybe address, just, try and extend the boundaries a little bit. But a lot of the grounds are very small, RCB, Chinnaswamy, Bangalore, that's a really small, tight stadium. And that's what makes it a really great atmosphere because everything's on top of the pitch and it's small. So yeah, I don't want to, start off with a slightly sort of moany negative thing because everyone likes runs, but I don't know what you think. I think it's gone a little bit too far the other way. For me, if you get 200, that should be a big score. 200 shouldn't be an average score.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, when you watch it, when it first was sort of gaining momentum as a tournament, um, and listening to the reaction of the spectators in the grounds, they loved it, these big hitting sixes. And it seemed to be the kind of like the USP of the IPL and indeed franchise T20 cricket with big sixes and whooping crowds. But those that criticise white ball cricket as a whole just say that it's not real cricket and it detracts from the skill and the technique that you see in sort of the longer forms of the game. Um, do you think that's sort of playing into the hands of those traditionalists that say this is now going too far away from what real cricket is?
Yeah, a little bit. And I'm a sort of foot in both camps, but I'm a modernist. I love T20 and I don't want people thinking that. So it has gone a bit too crazy, hasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
we had a situation the other day when the Sunrisers got 130 in the power play in 6 overs, right? 130. That's over 20 and over. It's just ridiculous. That is too far. That really, obviously great batting from Travis Head and Abhishek Sharma, but something's not right. If you can score 130 in 6 overs, you shouldn't really be able to do that. So yeah, I think it has gone a bit too far. I think we need to think about how they're going to rebalance it, but they probably don't care. I mean, I think a lot of the Indian audiences just love seeing sixes, love seeing runs. They're not all necessarily the sort of purists that we're talking about. So maybe they're happy enough, the organisers, with that, and then where does it end, and what are the bowlers there for?
Yeah, I know.
To me, I actually quite like, quite sort of relatively what you would call low scoring T20 game, 180 or something, which nowadays you would say in the IPL is quite a low score, bizarrely. I like a sort of 180 chase, tight chase goes down to the wire. A bit more interesting, the bowlers have a bit more of a say. I like the ball to swing if possible, bit of spin. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of it goes. Often the pitches get a bit tired, don't they, in the IPL, and it starts to spin a bit more. The likes of Chennai Super Kings, their spinners start to come into it a bit more at the MH Chidambaram. We haven't seen too many slow pitches this year. The only one that can be a bit slow is Lucknow. But Chennai, it's been a decent pitch. So hopefully it will just even up a little bit.
What about a lot of cricket fans I talk to start watching the IPL with the best of intents, but lack the stamina. Is it too long? I mean, as I mentioned, we are just halfway through, 4 weeks, and we're halfway through. Given that there's so many other franchise competitions coming around the world, and I've got a sort of a theory that the shorter and sweeter, the more compact, the better, because they keep the interest and each game becomes more meaningful as a result of that. Do you think the IPL is too long?
Yeah, probably slightly. It is. I mean, it's entertaining. For me, it's still the best T20 tournament
Yeah,
out there
agreed.
by a country mile. But yeah, there is definitely an argument that there is a bit of fatigue, from the fans. You just start to lose track of it a little bit. The Big Bash, didn't they? They extended, and they found that, their crowds dropped off quite significantly. So then they went back to the old system of just playing, I think, 10 or 8 group games they play now. And I think that's better. I think it's a much better product. It's more watchable, easier to follow. So yeah, there is an argument for that, but I don't think the IPL are going to scale back. For them, there is no less is more. More is more. The more games, the more money, the more value of the franchises. So I think they're just going to keep it as it is. As long as the cricket's interesting, look, I don't have a problem with it. I love watching the IPL, but it is relentless. It's every day. It's even if I'm working on it, and I sometimes lose track of what's going on because I'm also trying to keep track of football and other bits and bobs. And sometimes you get into a weekend and you're like, you look back, you haven't sort of watched all the cricket, and you've missed 4 games, and all sorts of stories. One team's got 380 or whatever in 20 overs, and someone else has taken a hat trick, and then 3 people have got 100. So you do have to really stay on top of it. I try to watch the highlights of most games if I haven't watched it live, and it takes a big chunk down my life when it's on.
Yeah.
My girlfriend's not very happy about that.
It's a good point, because this time of year, for your average sports fan, it's a fairly crowded calendar. IPL, County Championship, football, Formula One, snooker. Um, the old days of traditional blocks of the year when you played particular sports seems to have just gone completely. And these successful, we were talking about the expansion of the IPL, but look how Formula One is just ballooned over the last couple of years, where it now takes up pretty much all of the year. It seems to be that sport as a whole is moving in a different direction in terms of being driven by money and by big external investment. Now, there are talk of the IPL franchises reaching their tentacles across the globe. We've seen it a little bit already in the CPL. And there's talk about investing in English, either franchises or counties. Have you got any thoughts on the potential of that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, really. I'd quite like to see how it would work. I just don't know whether an IPL franchise would want to say, would Mumbai Indians want to buy, Middlesex, or invest in Middlesex, if they're not going to have, like, really a big chunk of it. I can't see them sort of investing 20, 30%, possibly, trying to take over it. But then also, what's in it for them? I mean, what's the value of these counties? You look at franchise cricket around the world, and that's the way they're going now, aren't they? So Mumbai will have a team in New York. They'll have a team in
Yeah.
um, is it Pretoria in South Africa? They'll have one in Emirates. That's the route they're going down. You know, is owning Yorkshire going to add to the brand, add to the value? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a sort of money guy. Does seem a bit of an unlikely alliance to me, IPL and county cricket. A lot's going to depend on the 100, I think. Obviously, there's some big talks at the moment between the counties and the 100, what they're going to do with that. Are they going to go for private investment in the 100? That's probably a more interesting discussion, isn't it? I think they will. Initially they turned down this offer, a big offer, for a chunk of the tournament. I think what they'll end up doing is private investment in each
Yeah.
team. And I think that's where the IPL side will come into it.
Interesting times. And I just noticed, I'm just having a quick look at the performance stats that are currently on the IPL. And interestingly or not, Virat Kohli tops the runs scoring with 379 runs, and Jasprit Bumrah leads the wicket takers with 13 wickets so far. Is it that the Indian players are still dominating the overseas stars that are turning up for this?
Um, no, not necessarily, but listen, it is great, isn't it, to see Virat up the top of the run scoring charts because it shows that you still need room for that touch player. You know, it's not all about power; it's about skill as well. Although Virat has like upped his power game as well, but I love seeing him still in the mix, still proving people wrong, still edgy. A lot of people thought T20 had moved on from him. Actually, even in India, they were questioning his position in the T20 World Cup squad. I mean, not a lot of people, but there were people who were, even asking the question, which some places would be considered blasphemous. But definitely him and Rohit, both of their positions were not guaranteed. They both played really well. So I think they basically just reasserted themselves. Um, Virat, yeah, I think he's looks back to vintage Virat in a lot of ways. He just knows the conditions brilliantly. There was one article I read the other day criticizing he played against Rajasthan. I think he batted through the innings. He got 100, but then Butler trumped him with an unbeaten 100 to win off the last ball for Rajasthan. And some people were criticizing Kohli, which is ridiculous in my opinion. If you get 100 bat through the innings, it's up to the other people around you to come in and just tee off because you're providing the glue. And if you get 100, you're scoring it quick enough rate anyway. So I think it's great to see him still going. Hopefully he can go on for a few more years. Bumrah is just an absolute gun of a bowler. You could argue he's the best fast bowler in the world in all formats. He just makes a huge difference to Mumbai. I actually picked Mumbai to win the tournament at the start in an article I wrote, a preview article. So they're making me look foolish at the moment because the reason I picked Mumbai was purely the Bumrah factor, right? They've got really, really strong, powerful backing. I didn't have him last year, got to the playoffs, and then I thought him coming back in just makes a huge difference. He has made a big difference. They've won I think 3 games. They got off to a terrible start, but they're up against it in terms of making the playoffs. But the rest of the bowlers are not very good, so you can't sort of carry the whole attack on his shoulders. Um, yeah, hasn't been loads of Indian spinners that doing well. Chahal is obviously still there. Chahal's a brilliant leg spinner, but I've been a bit disappointed, as I said, with the lack of turning pitches. There are still some overseas players who've done well. Just trying to think, Fraser McGurk, he's coming in, hasn't he? And done really well.
That's right,
Young
yeah.
Australian batter. Keeping your eye on him. Sound the ball makes off his bat is. Phil Salt's done all right, isn't he? Phil
Yeah.
Salt's been
England's forgotten
probably,
man.
yeah. He's well. I think he'll open for the T20 World Cup without a doubt. They were supposed to get Jason Roy actually Kolkata and ended up having to go for Salt instead. And Salt, in my opinion, is an upgrade on Roy at the moment.
Yeah.
So he's fitted in right well to that sort of style of play at Kolkata. They just want people to go really hard at the top of the order. So him and Narayan have been a sort of unlikely opening partnership, but a very good and successful one. Butler's got 200s, but still to me doesn't look like he's really in peak form. Bizarrely, he's still there's more gears to come, I think, from Josh, but it's great for him that he's back in form. So we need him big time at the T20 World Cup. Him and Salt will be key. A bit worried about England's chances, to be honest with you, with no Stokes. Interesting to see how we go there. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the Indian players have come to the fore this year. You know, the senior players, Rohit, been good. Virat, Bumrah with the ball. But you know, long time to go. Interesting to see who's up the top come the end of the season.
Now, away from your work on Sky with the IPL, you last time we spoke on the show, you were delving into the world of podcasts, and a little bird tells me that you have another one almost ready to drop.
Yes, the little bird tells you correctly, Darren. Yeah. Basically, I've been thinking about doing another one or rehashing my old podcast all out, which I did during lockdown.
Yeah.
Myself busy, but then got a bit busier at work, so I kind of let that slide a bit. And I found someone quite interesting to do a new podcast with. You might know him. His name is Azeem Rafiq, of course,
Wow.
who rocked the world of cricket in 2020 with all of those allegations that were proven of racism at Yorkshire. And he's keen to re-enter the fray, basically, and have a say on the world of cricket. He had to take a step back. Unfortunately, you know, he had death threats and he had all kinds of abuse after that, which is incredible for someone who's proven racism. And he's had to leave the country. He's had to move to the UAE because, you know, pretty awful things were happening at his home and his parents. So he's kind of stepped out of the limelight. He's been on the back burner a bit, but he's keen to have a say again, and you know, particularly what's going on at Yorkshire. Colin Graves is back. You know, interestingly, there's rumours of Mark Arthur being brought back, the chief executive, who were both in position when all of this stuff was happening, and you know, Colin Graves famously called racism banter. So we're going to get Azeem's opinion on that, obviously, and it's going to be quite strong, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
That's in the first episode. I should say it's called "It's Not Just Cricket." It's not just cricket. It's a play on. It's just not cricket. The first episode is going to drop on Wednesday, the 1st of May, and then after that, we're going to drop them every Wednesday. So it'll be once a week, and then we'll do a few bonus episodes here and there just to react to any matches or events that happen. We're also going to occasionally look at other sports. So we might get, you know, Black Football Manager in, talk about problems that Black football managers make, or a female broadcaster in, talk about, you know, the problems that they face. So we will broaden it out, but it will largely be a cricket podcast. We're going to talk about cricket, and initially, Wednesday, 1st of May, we're going to get Azeem's thoughts on what's going on in terms of cricket dealing with racism, in terms of Yorkshire, find out what he's been up to. And then, you know, then we're going to delve into some cricket stuff. You know, he's got some strong opinions, not just on racism. He's got some strong opinions. He is a Yorkshireman after all. He's got some strong opinions on everything. So we're going to talk, you know, sort of the news of the week as well. As I said, you can get it wherever you get your podcast normally. Wednesday, 1st of May. It's not just cricket.
Matt, I'll let you crack on because I know you've got places to be and things to do. Always great to catch up, and hopefully see you on the Taverners circuit this summer.
Cheers, mate.